Hi class, today we're on page 22 in your binder and we're talking about nested groupings with order of operations problems. Now, when we talk about nested groupings, that's when there are groupings inside of groupings. So today we're going to be using those square brackets for those grouping symbols. So when solving order of operations problems with brackets or nested groupings, you want to start with the inner most grouping first. So it says, let's look at an example. Now before we do that, we're going to make a little note. We're going to say inside out. We always want to work from the inside out of the problem. So if we have a grouping, we want to look to see, do we have a grouping within our grouping? Because remember, we always need to follow order of operations even when we're inside the groupings. Okay, so I wrote my GEMDOS off to the side. So let's look at the first example together. Do I have any groupings? Well, I have my square brackets here that are telling me that this is a grouping. Now, inside of this grouping, what would I do first? And I'm gonna draw a bracket around it so that you can see what I'm talking about. I'm ignoring this 8 right here. What would I do first inside of that? Think of it like its own little order of operation problem. Would I do the exponent? Would I do the subtraction? Or would I do the parentheses there? Well, I'm going to do the parentheses. So 8 minus 7. 8 minus 7 gives me 1. I can keep it in parentheses if I would like to be safe. The bracket goes in the back. Divide by 8 minus 1 to the first with a bracket. Okay, so you need to make sure that you're very, very careful when you're solving these problems. So now, do I have any more groupings? Well, I'm working inside of a bracket. I'm ignoring this outside. Am I going to do the exponent or the subtraction? Because remember, one number in a grouping is not a grouping. Well, I'm going to do the exponent next. 1 to the first, which ends up being 1, bracket, minus 1, bracket, divide by 8. Then I have a grouping still here. A 1 inside of a grouping. One number is not a grouping, it's just a fake out. So all I have left is my subtraction to do. 1 minus 1, which is 0. And I can leave it in the bracket if I would like to be safe. And 0 divided by 8 is going to give me 0. Okay, so you need to make sure that, especially when you're working in the grouping up top, when you're first beginning to solve that problem, if you need to, cover the rest of the problem that you're not looking at and just think of it like a small order of operations problem inside of those brackets. Let's look at another example. So let's look at example 2. I'm going to write my GEMDOS off to the side. Okay, do I have any groupings? Well, remember the brackets are groupings, and I have this little divide by 4 on the outside, so I'm going to ignore that right now. If you need to, put your finger on it so it's covered. And then let's look at everything that's inside of the bracket. I have a plus, I have a multiply, I have a subtract, and I have parentheses with addition. Well, which one, according to order of operations, would I do first? Well, I'm going to do the groupings first. 3 plus 10. 3 plus 10 gives me 13. And I'm going to leave it in the groupings just to be safe, but the bracket at the end, don't forget, that's something that most students forget to do. Copy down the whole rest of the problem. Now I can look, I still have groupings because I still have brackets. What would I do next according to order of operations? Would I add, would I multiply, or would I subtract? Well, I'm going to multiply. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 5, with a bracket, divide by 4, and then minus 13 in the back. Then I still have groupings, so I'm still working within my groupings. Am I going to add or subtract first? I'm going to add because it comes first in line. 5 plus 9 is 14, bracket, divided by 4 minus 13 bracket. Okay, now I still have groupings, I still have brackets. So I need to do the subtraction, that's the only thing that's left. 14 minus 13 gives me 1, and if you want to, leave it in the bracket, so you're careful. Divided by 4 out front, and then we can solve our last step. 4 divided by 1 is going to give us 4. Excuse me. So, be careful when you're solving the problem that you're doing the groupings first, and then what do I do first while I'm inside of those groupings. Make sure you're extra careful. Alright, so let's look at the 2 down at the bottom. I want you to try number 1 by yourself. When you're ready, unpause the video and we'll go through it together. Alright, now that you've solved number 1, let's go through it together. So, we're looking at our problem. I'm going to write my GEMDOS off to the side. Do I have any grouping symbols? Well, I have brackets, so I'm going to go look in those first. What am I going to do first in that little baby order of operations problem that's inside the brackets? Well, I need to do the parentheses first. 2 plus 16 gives me 18. Divide by 8, bracket, don't forget that part. Divide by 5, plus 1 with the bracket. Okay, I still have groupings. I'm still working in those parentheses. Am I going to add or multiply first? Well, I'm going to multiply first. 18 times 8 gives me 144. Bracket, divide by 5, plus 1 bracket. Do the next step, 1 plus 144, because that's the only thing that's left in my grouping, which gives me 145. You can leave the brackets on it if you want. Divided by 5. And then I can do the last step, 145 divided by 5 should have given you 29. Okay? Alright, I want you to pause the video here. I want you to try number 2 by yourself. When you're ready, unpause the video and we'll go over it together. Alright, now that you've solved this problem, let's go over it together. I'm going to write my GEMDOS just to remind me over here. Do I have groupings? Well, I have these brackets. I need to look. What do I have going on inside of my brackets? Well, I have a parenthesis and I have a division. So I'm going to do the parentheses first. 18 minus 4, which is going to give me 14. Divide by 7, bracket, times 4 plus 1. Then I need to finish what's going on inside my bracket. So I have 14 divided by 7, which gives me 2. Times 4 plus 1. Now remember, one number inside of a grouping is like a fake out. It's a trick. So I don't have any more groupings. I don't have any exponents. Now I have multiplication or division, yes. I have this 2 times 4, which gives you 8. And I still have plus 1. And 8 plus 1 gives you 9. So your answer for number 2 should be 9. Alright, so your job right now is to complete the rest of the tasks that are posted on the Promethean board in class.